that cannot be converted because we feel the challenges our medics do face and our country entirely faces. So tell us about the state of the, of Kenya's health facilities and services. My second question is the difference between the public and private practitioners in terms of cover. You've articulated quite deeply into the aspect of public practitioners or public health practitioners, and you've told us about the lack of cover for their health and as such. Definitely resource mobilization for doctors to work, you've mentioned on that. But one final point that I want to raise and just want to share up with you is in your recommendation for Health Service Commission. You see, some of us might not be able to buy the creation of Health Service Commission for various reasons that I really don't want to delve into it right at this stage because of multiple things, because that's something that I need to go and consult further and really look into it. But there are two types of commissions, as you may know. We've got the Constitutional Commission that is pegged in the Constitution and established through the Constitution, and therefore that is a commission through the Constitution. We have got the Statute Commission, where actually it is done through parliamentary system, and the parliament rather, discussed and then it is pegged up. So we have got those two types of commissions. So in this case, you also need to say whether that really needs to go into the constitutional amendment so that it can go through that way, or we look at the Statute Commission rather, and we do it through the parliament. So in any case, you need to elaborate on that as well and tell us, because this is the time the BBI is trying to, amend the constitution, and therefore whether that should go into it. But it is arguably, the Health Service Commission is not the immediate need of many, the immediate favor of many of us. But I leave my point to that, and thank you very much on that.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be a little bit emotional about this, but you will, and mine may be more of comments, and I may take a little more time. Just bear with me. First of all, there was a video that went around of a doctor who actually, his complaints summarized what you are saying. First of all, I thought it was you, but he had less hair, but hair can grow. So, after that video, and Chair, I'll go right ahead and tell you why I'm saying that, and why I'm saying I'm emotional, because I'm a doctor. I have a daughter who is a doctor, and I know what is going through working in an outpatient. And the video explained exactly what you are going through as doctors. Not covered, no treatment, no compensation. And this is what Dr. Eselu Simiyu said. I'm reading this to give the feeling that some of us have. The chair circulated that video. Chair, that is so profound. Even before COVID, some of us have agitated for doctors' welfare, but we have met a silent, already received a brick wall. I have never really understood why doctors are hated so much that everybody feels good when the doctor are shortchanged. In the countries out there, doctors are respected and paid well, with all other trappings such as they have, no worries, and now they concentrate on their calling, and boy, they work hard and they deliver. I then commented later, Mheshimiwa Sabina, and this is important because there is something that you have said. The President gave directions. Mheshimiwa Sabina, as the chair of Health Committee, you owe it to the people of Kenya to ensure that the president hears this. And I'm saying if she was here, I would like her to take that video to the president. Just a moment here. Chair, just bear with me. Don't worry, we will get there. What we are doing is so important that if you have to have a meeting tomorrow, I don't mind. Mheshimiwa Sabina, as the chair of the Health Committee, you owe it to the people of Kenya to ensure that the president hears this. Please make sure he hears this and truthfully report to us. And chair wants this to go to the chair. The vice chair wants to go to the chair. To report to us, the Health Committee, what he, the president, says. For me, it is what you report to us that will show me what the future of healthcare for the people of Kenya is. Health workers are the foundation of health services. When they die, the foundation crumbles. I'm saying that because this is deja vu to me. 1982, except there was no COVID, everything is the same. And then we had a strike. And everybody kept saying, the government does not like this. The director of Kenyatta, the government does not like this. The director of medical services, the government does not like this. The PS Health, the government does not like this. The minister, who was then Mugugu, the government doesn't like this. At the end, we landed in the office of the head of the civil service then, Mr. Kandie, and he started by the government doesn't like this. And one of our colleagues, Dr. Lima, now is in Kisumu, asked, we are tired of hearing the government doesn't like this. Tell us who this government is so that we talk to him. And the answer he got, Chair, now is what I want us to take. He was told, the government is the president and the people he listens to, whether those people hold official positions or not. I think we are there one more time. And why am I bringing these things and sounding off? A lot of the things the doctors have said are systemic. And I'll go one by one. I won't take as much time as you did. University lecturers were not included in the cover. Chair, we have said here again and again, it is time that the teaching hostels are part of the university, and that is what we wanted for Kenyatta University. And our colleagues here, a gazettement was done when we were on recess. Otherwise, it would have been one staff. The people who work there as doctors are registrars. And here, Dr. was saying, if you're going to train them, they have to leave their places. And then the counties don't want to pay. We have said again and again here that what needs to be done, we need training position that is paid for by the national government as per their mandate. Again, the problem of just the functions being done by the people they have. Chair, this risk allowance, extraneous allowance, all these compensations, this is the origin, Daktari. You will pursue this even after I've died from what I'm seeing. Because I pursued it at your age, you're pursuing it again. This was the original of the allowances. We wanted doctors to be paid better. Everybody said, like you're hearing now, the problem is SRC. Everybody said the problem is the Public Service Commission, because if you pay the doctors better, they'll distort the structures of the salaries. And we said, then what do we do? Then we said, because they work longer, because they are at risk of disease. At that time, we couldn't even explain that doctors, nurses, and all other health workers are at risk of disease. COVID has now proved it. 40 years later. And that is why the risk allowance was being paid. Extraneous allowance, because doctors cannot leave a patient on the table during surgery because 5 o'clock has reached. So he has to do. And I'll tell you, at one time somebody retorted in the government before we went on strike that we employ you as all civil servants to do 8 hours. And we said we are going to do a program, we are going to do a schedule for 8 hours, and we did in Kenyatta, and we were doing 8 hours. It was a big strike countrywide. That is where those allowances came from. Why are they being seen now as something you should bargain for? In fact, Daktari, what you now go for is not that this risk allowance are paid, but these risk allowances now, we want them to be computed and put in your salary upfront. Why? Because as allowances, we are being shortchanged. You are being shortchanged as doctors, because they will not be part of the negotiation when you retire or part of the gratuity. Because that is where they came from. Okay, other people then came and said, we are also doing this risk allowance, fine. All the health workers, all the people who work in hospital, the cleaners, sure, they also have a risk allowance. But you have said the level of the risk. If they were listening to you, even PPEs, level 2 and 3, you mentioned. We have that list in the ministry, what level 2 does, what level 3 does, what level 4 does, and the risk they have. And you have done exactly what kind of protection they need. Chair, it took us in '82 to get a scheme of service for doctors and health workers. What he has done is not his duty. That is the duty of the human resource in the ministry to work out and go and negotiate with the government. It's not the doctors to go and put a scheme of service. That's not their duty. Their duty is to go in theater and work. Why should they work out the scheme of service? What protective equipment is needed at every level? Who doesn't know that at this point now in COVID, the risk is even in level 2 and level 3, because this is communal transmission. 80% of the people are asymptomatic, but they transmit the disease. I know.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll just have to leave.
No, I really agree. We also focus on way forward as members of parliament.
I'm giving. Do you realize I'm giving way forward?
I hear you.
Do you know I'm giving way forward?
I hear you.
Yeah. If you listen to my statement, each one of them ends with a way forward. Chair, everybody says this is your calling, medicine is a calling, you have to be patriotic. Who says patriotic is suicide? Patriotism is not suicide. You cannot ask a person to jump into a river that is running because they are patriotic. You must help them. You must help them. We can't do this to health workers. So, again, I'm saying, if you want way forward, these allowances for risk has to be paid not only to doctors, but even to other health workers. And these doctors have even done for you. They can do the level of risk. You pay people at that level. Now, lack of collective bargaining agreement. Chair, people said, I was in there was a big meeting where I was. I actually decided, we negotiated. At one point I left because it was sounding like I was being in the earlier strike. And people, Dr. Thuranera, I think you were there. Yeah, you were there also. And you were there, yeah, you guys were all there. If at that time, when I was in the last term of parliament, people agreed on something that it should be paid, and on the basis of that, the strike was called off. Why is it that today that thing is a subject of discussion? Health workers do not know how to lie, because if you lie, the patient dies. So they trust everything you tell them. 2 years down the line, you are not paid. If they go on strike, you want another. How do we know that this new negotiation will again not be a part of a negotiation 5 years later? Use of courts. You know, people go for the letter of the law and manipulate the law to get people sacked. The truth is, when those people who are sacked are at home, there are people who are dying who could have saved if we don't go for the letter of the law. That is the truth. We make public statements that we are going to employ doctors. I know doctors who have come to me looking for work. Why can't we go and employ those doctors immediately? So, Chair, we just have to do what is happening. Now, when you come to money that was given, contracted workers are not compensated. Honestly, tell me, if you are working for 6 months with COVID patients, why are you not at risk? Why are you not being compensated? And we were with you, Vice Chair, when we visited. We also asked, you give this thing for 3 months, COVID is going on. What is going to happen in the next 3 months? That is why I said, I wish we were having this meeting in State House with the President chairing. Then all those who he listens to can make their contribution. That is, you remember my definition of the government. The President and the people he listens to. Those are the people we want to listen to this. I don't like this.
Easy.
You can do that to your doctors and your health workers. It's not fair.
Take it easy. We hear you, Mheshimiwa.
It's not fair.
We know, Mheshimiwa. It's painful, Daktari. It's painful, Daktari.
Health cannot be business.
We hear you, Mheshimiwa. We hear you, Mheshimiwa.
Now, Health Services Commission. Yes, it can be statutory, it can be constitutional. The only reason, and I've not worked as aggressively as it is, as I would have, because I know we have agreed that we are going to have a devolved system of government. And I know that a person who is running an institution will feel disenfranchised if the people that he's working with are being employed, promoted, disciplined by somebody else. That's also a reality. The governors are also not wrong to be reluctant. But what is the reason why the doctors are insisting? Say whether I'm wrong. It is because one element of the constitution in this country has never been implemented. The national government, the ministry has policy and standards. Are they able to go to the counties and say, this is not according to standard, this is not the policy, we want it to be done differently? What will be the answer? This is a devolved function, therefore you can't come here. So what is the point of a national government that cannot enforce standards and policies? And that is why the doctors are insisting. Dr. Thuranira, I called you when we were in Naivasha. Can we insist that we have it? And let me tell you why I'm saying, my colleagues, that it can't be, what are they calling this other one? The one that is treated by an act of parliament.
Statutory. Switch on your mic.
Chair, Why they don't want it statutory is because they know that the counties will not listen. My position, these doctors know, is if you have a system where there's a body that sets standards, this is how you employ a doctor, this is how you employ a nurse, this is how you employ a clinical officer, this is how you employ a physiotherapist. After so many years, this is what they do, this is their promotion, this is you pay them, and this is how long you should take before their salaries are paid. Statutory deductions are not remitted to NHIF, and so doctors are not being, health workers are not being covered. A management issue, not even a policy issue. But if you had somebody, so what, Chair, in my view, this country needs is that the policy and standard function of the government, we must find a way where they can be enforced. So a governor can be told, yes, these doctors or this nurse has worked for 3 years, why has the nurse not been promoted? Their fear is that nobody will listen. So their hope, and my colleagues, I know your hope is that when it's in the Constitution, it will be reinforced. I know you won't have a problem even if it's statutory and you know that the person who is responsible for it is unable to enforce it at the county level. You would have no problem. I know that. But let me tell you, even some constitutional bodies may actually not be as effective. So what this country needs is the standards and the policy functions to be enforced. Who will enforce it? The health workers believe it is only the Constitution that can enforce it. And I'm telling them, they're my colleagues. I conclude by saying, you people are right. All the things you have said here are right. And don't stop your strike until these things are, I'm saying it in like, don't stop your strike until these things are done. On the Health Services Commission, I think what we should do is make sure it's not only in health, it's in agriculture, it is in water, it is everywhere. The standards and the policy function of the national government is not being done because there is no way of enforcing it. The intergovernmental relations structure is a cordial thing. People talk nicely over a cup of tea and governors go back and the national people remain here and nothing happens. So I would say, when you negotiate that, even if it is not in the Constitution, but what then must be done, what is already in the Constitution, which is not being implemented, is the standards and the policy function of the national government is not being implemented. So if you had a law under the Ministry of Health, and they would go with the law and say, this and this and this is wrong, in according to this, county A, you are wrong, we want you to work with, you do this with the doctors. Training, if the doctors were in Kenyatta or in Moi, and the national government is paying for them, the counties would have the money over that 3 or 4 year period to get another doctor in place. What is wrong with that? Chair, these are clear things, they are policy issues, and we must just go back as this committee and implement the issues. The structure between the training institutions and the hospitals. Why was Kenyatta University Hospital gazetted as a parastatal after this committee had recommended that for once in Kenya, we try a true university hospital? All over the world, those are the hospitals that are most known. Why? Is it business? Business people are listening to me. You have killed more people than the health workers going on strike. That is the truth. That is the truth. country. Some of us have dedicated our lives. Some of us, people may ask, they worked for so long. Why at the end of their life, they are not living in mansions and flying in helicopters? Because we know if we do that, the people suffer. I'm sorry, Chairman, but to me,
you have all the time. You have all the time, Daktari. You know.
We can't go on like this.
Yeah.
I'll be with you if I have to leave this job. I can't see what we saw in 1981. The same thing.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Daktari. I had to give you enough time because of your experience. Kindly, our team to check on the doctor, give him some water. Yeah. So I'll give it to Dr. Mulgor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll start by saying what the medical union, the doctors' union has presented is the truth and nothing but the truth. And actually reminds me, Chair, it reminds me of something which took doctors back. Can you imagine somebody, one of the presentation was that as doctors, we work around the clock. And the answer he gave is, when you decided to be a doctor, you knew you were going to work for 24 hours. So you cannot demand anything. And that is why Nyikal was saying, you see, a doctor has no time. If you are in an operating theater, for example, you don't just stop and hand it over in the middle. It is something actually, and Dr. Iseli Simi has put it very clearly. It seems in this country, doctors are hated. I seem not to understand it also personally. Why somebody who saves people's lives are hated that much? And Chair, I would have liked, the observation I've seen here, I would have really liked that when they were presenting today here, I would have liked to see the ministry here, the CS and the PS and those technical guys, leave alone the doctors in the ministry. They are also suffering there. We would have liked to see the other guys who actually advise even the CSS. And while I'm still there, and next time, because you see, Chair, when we shall call the Ministry of Health and, present to them what they are presented. And I can assure you, they'll give you excuses, they'll give you answers which you think are so beautiful, but nothing. And that is next time we need to invite them here. Now, a matter of clarity, which I need to know, I wanted to actually find out. There was an allocation of 3.4 billion given to the ministry, of which 500 million was supposed to be given for provision of medical cover. Now, was that given actually? This is something that I don't have an answer, I cannot answer. Were they given? It was actually supposed to be for 22 counties which had no cover. Was it done? That is something we need to clarify, because the ministry tells us we have given the money. The other thing is the psychosocial support, of which also some money was given. Is that thing happening in our institutions, hospitals? Actually, the other thing which has been coming on every now and then, and I saw it actually, and I think I asked even the CS or SRC when they were there. The question of risk allowance. Whom are they giving? Are they giving only for those who are in national referral hospitals? Are they also giving the ones in the counties? And are they giving also our lecturers who are in the university? Because being a lecturer of medicine, you are actually working, you are treating, and you are carrying also that risk. I want clarity on that, because I don't see why somebody in Iten who is a doctor does not get that risk allowance, and somebody in MTRH gets the risk allowance while they're handling the same thing. I would like that clarity, members of the union. On the remission of deductions to NHIF, I really don't know. It's criminal. It is criminal. And the biggest culprits are the universities as well as the counties. What are these fellows known as, even NHIF itself, why don't you sue those areas? Or just because they are doctors or whoever, or staff who are in those institutions, you don't care? Now the question of employment. We are producing about 1,000 doctors, and we have not even reached the required patient to doctor ratio. And you find doctors after graduating, and I say, I know, we know these things, they are sitting at home while actually we don't have enough personnel. I don't know what is happening, and I can assure you, the whole thing is, there's something somewhere, I don't know, I don't want to go there, but somehow I don't know, was it competition in school why doctors are hated? So the question is uptake of, and the other thing which I wanted to know also on clarity, Chair, is that 1 billion was appropriated. 1 billion to employ more staff in health. Was that actually implemented? And if it was implemented, where is that money? You know, Kenya, there is a roads where money disappears, it vanishes into thin air. Can we get clarity on that? Whether actually that employment of all those cadres was done? Now, PPEs. It is very sad that actually you go to KEMSA, because they have told us level 1, level 2 and level 3, actually there is nothing like a PPEs. And when you go to KEMSA, I think the size of this building here is full of PPEs. And medical staff are dying there because of lack of these things. What is wrong with this? What is wrong with this, with us as Kenyans and as a government? Just because you're investigating, you're doing what, you'll have things, and actually, Chair, the likelihood of those PPs expiring there is there. And then you lose even more, and you have lost health personnel because you're not giving it out. Now, on the Health Commission, I think last Parliament we really worked hard as members of this committee to see that actually a Health Commission was established. And to tell you the truth, unless there is a political will, unless there is political will, that commission will not come. In fact, in the first place, it was wrong to devolve health. I know many people will disagree with me, but it was wrong to devolve health kabisa. The other thing which I wanted to say and finalize is the question of, I don't know, just failed, but I think as you say,
perhaps
we are
maybe
rather
come later.
emotional on this thing.
I know. And
I think I'll come back.
yes, members, yes,
As a matter of fact, Chair,
yes.
there is nothing actually to discuss here.
I
What
agree.
we have presented here is
Yeah.
the truth. And as a committee, we should follow it to the end. Not question of just discussing this thing and discussing. We have to get an answer on this thing.
Thank you. Members, as you, just before we take, Chair, just before we take another round, you will allow me, because, you know, I had to give the doctors an opportunity. And you can, members, tell clearly the way it is a motive, the way this issue is so sensitive. You know, even me, you know, this is the time that you feel like you can really make a hard decision as the chair of the committee. But of course, leadership calls for responsibility. We are going to give opportunity to members to raise more issues. But members, you will allow me, because we had said 3 questions, and I think that you agree with me that Nyikal did not really raise questions, but he supported you. Same thing to Dr. Homar. I think there were a few clarifications that has been sought by Dr. Murgor. Maybe 1 or 2, so then you can give also opportunity to other members. But then before, there are members who've just come in. Let me give them an opportunity just to do an introduction. Then you respond to that. Then, Chair, I will give it to Korere. I think there was I had promised the women rep, from Lamu, and then I'll come to Koros. Oh, yes. Then we can take 4, and then yes, our good representative from Turkana. Yes. Just go ahead and do an introduction for those people who had not done introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry for coming late. My name is Honorable Gabriel Tongoyo, MP for Northwest Constituency, and a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for coming late, but at least I think I got most of the stuff. My name is Joyce Emanikor, MP Turkana County. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for arriving late. I'm Sarah Korere, MP for Laikipia North Constituency, Laikipia County, where all the doctors were, kicked out like they don't mean anything.
So respond to the few concerns from Dr. Murgor, and perhaps maybe any other clarification. And I guess the CEO, NHIF, you can also react to a few issues that have been raised by these people. Thank you.
In fact, Chair, can you answer actually whether you received the 500 million for the cover of these fellows?
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. Maybe a short answer to the question. No, we have not received funds yet to cover the 500 million. What I would like maybe to add on to that we're in the process of having a group life, group personal accident, and work injuries benefit for public servants as well as National Youth Service, and that would cover the frontline workers, which includes doctors working in the private sector.
Chair,
thank you.
But Chair, What is it, Koros?
Yes. I've heard the CEO talking of they are in process. Bwana CEO, I think this is not something about the process. Could you give us timeline on this? Because what's happened? Thing you are saying,
Koros, under the CEO NHIF, after this, it is going to be a substantive matter that the committee is going to discuss. So I think it is important that we ventilate and conclude with the team that is before us, then we can usher in our NHIF, because we have a lot of issues to seek from NHIF. Members, are we in agreement? Yes, so but we want to focus on what it is here. Thank you. So yes, you can go ahead and respond to Dr. Murgor and any other concern before we take another round from members. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think before I respond to Dr. Murgor, the Chair, Honorable Sabina, before she left, had asked a question on the counties that are not prescribed to NHIF. The data, I'll mention those that have never prescribed to NHIF. Meru, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Mandera, Nyeri, Turkana, West Pokot, Samburu, Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Laikipia, Narok, Vihiga, Busia, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, and Nairobi City. And there are two counties that are in the process of renewal, Isiolo and Garissa. And then there are counties that are currently not active, which means our members in these counties cannot access treatment. I'm mentioning them.
Okay, thank you.
Marsabit, Tharaka Nithi, Kitui, Makueni, Nyandarua, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, and Bomet. I think that is quite comprehensive. So it's only 17 out of 47 counties that are currently active. Yes, 17 counties active. The rest are either not prescribed and others are not active. 10 are not active, and then the rest have never prescribed to NHIF. There was another question on the KNH.
Chair, I want to
center.
seek a clarification on that. I can see we are in the process of listing what's to be done. The question is, who will do it? Why has it not been done? Who are we going to hold responsible?
Yes, I agree, Chairman. Mheshimiwa, we will come to that as we conclude. And I think this time round we're going to have recommendations that we are going to spell it publicly today as a committee. And like usually where as a committee we just go and say today members allow me to say this. We're going to make recommendations. Thank you.
Chair.
So give him time, yes.
Just point of order.
Right.
For clarity,
Yes.
to what the SG has said, you had mentioned the counties that you have kind of said that they are not under any arrangement whatsoever. They are not under NHIF cover. They are not under any other insurance cover. Isn't it true? Is it true?
So some are not under any insurance and others have opted for private insurance, which is inferior to what is prescribed in a collective bargaining agreement as per NHIF, as we signed with all 47 counties. I think that is clear. Yeah. So there was a question on the KNH center that the national government through the Ministry of Health set aside for healthcare workers. Yes, it is true there is a center there, but it only has 30 regular beds, so there is no ICU space there. So if a doctor or any healthcare worker becomes or gets severe COVID, they will not be assisted there. And 30 beds is not even enough for all the doctors that we have serving in the national government, or even in Kenyatta itself, which has over 300 doctors. So I think that is also quite clear. There was the question from Dr. Murgo on psychosocial support. One, that was the first question. So psychosocial support, I'll be honest, myself, being in the technical advisory committee of the health committee of the COVID fund, and through Equity Group, which gave 85 million for psychosocial support to be run through the associations, Kenya Medical Association, Kenya National Nurses Association of Kenya, Kenya Clinical Association of Kenya. So it is the associations and the union that is running the psychosocial support actively. We do not have on the ground any form of psychosocial support that links healthcare workers directly to therapists or psychologists from the Ministry of Health. That is lacking. I think that is also clear.
And
there is
that money, the 20 million which was supposed for that, as that group received it, you have talked of money from Equity.
No. So
the Ministry of Health, 20 million.
So the money from the COVID fund and Equity is being handled separately. There is no contribution from the Ministry of Health. That one is our own independent channel that we've worked with COVID fund to make sure that we cover and our healthcare workers of psychosocial support.
And perhaps maybe Murko, you remember that the government had set aside 520 million. And then they said they could not implement the money because there was no infrastructure or the framework for utilization of that. So those are the issues that we are going to see clarification with the ministry. Go ahead.
The issue of risk allowance that Dr. Murgor asked, in fact, as we speak, there is a letter from SRC excluding payment of this allowance, even the COVID-19 emergency allowance, to all the university hospitals. The university teaching and academic staff, that is the clinical specialists, they're not receiving, and SRC has stood its ground that they should not receive. And equally, the doctors in the university health services units, because each university has a clinic or a health center that the staff of the university get services from, they've also been excluded from this risk allowance, even the call allowance. And I'd like to say that for the universities, after 3 years of pursuing this issue post the CBA, in the month of June, we finally got that money dispersed in arrears. It wasn't the full amount, it was 60% of the odd amounts from the National Treasury to universities. But what we saw, and let me say that Professor Kiama, University of Nairobi, and I think most of you have seen this issue in the media, where we were very, very firm on him, has literally refused to pay those monies. Even as we speak, he's written letters to SRC saying that these doctors should only be paid 30,000 and not what was prescribed in the CBA. He's reducing those monies by 50% because he wants to do that as an institution, a university. So all other universities going forward are not even being paid that allowances. So all universities with medical colleges of health sciences are not receiving this allowance.
And Chair,
that is why, Chair, we state clearly as doctors normally that doctors in this country seems to be hated. You can see a VC just cutting money.
Dr. Mulgor, we will just take notes, then we will make recommendation. Thank you.
Clarification.
Yes, Nyikal.
I am sure an organization of the caliber of SRC cannot give a direction without a reason. What reason have they given? And the university have they given?
Well, it's interesting that the reason they're giving is that they're not dealing with COVID patients directly. But as I said earlier, these doctors in the university are teaching in Kenyatta National Hospital, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, KU University Teaching and Referral Hospital, and with community transmission, they're exposed still, because with patients in there, with the colleagues who are also dealing with COVID-19 patients, they are exposed. So at the end of the day, for us, any doctor must be paid these allowances because the risk is not averse to them. It is part of their job. There was an issue, I think another question on NHIF remittances, counties and universities. On the remittances,
I think the counties I listed that are not active have not remitted. And the trend in most counties, even the ones that are currently active, if you go back through the NHIF records, and would really like NHIF when their session is here, to give you a full picture of how remittances are done from the counties to NHIF for even a period of this year, from January. And you will see that there's always half of those counties that are prescribed not on any form of cover, because monies have not been remitted to NHIF. The counties know very well what they do with that money once it's deducted from the salaries, where it stays until eventually it gets to NHIF. That's a question I do not have an answer to. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take another round. Nyikal. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll take the ladies because they had requested, and then because she want to leave, and then I'll come to you, Rueda, and then the women rep from Laikipia. No, Mheshimiwa, sorry. My apologies. My apologies, Mheshimiwa Korore. Asante sana. It's okay. Yes, Dad.
Thank you, Chair. Even women reps are Mheshimiwas. So, Honorable Chair, I want to introduce myself again. I'm Joyce Nyikal, MP for Turkana County. I asked the Chair to give me 1 minute because I'm rushing to the House Business Committee. Mine is a reaction to the presentation given earlier. And I don't want to speak as a member of this committee. I want to speak as a Kenyan and as a leader in this country. Honorable Chair, the doctor's clip that has widely been circulated has really raised an understanding by the Kenyan public on the plight of health workers in this country. And when I saw it, I could not restrain my tears. And for the first time, this is my second term in Parliament, for the first time, I have seen committee members crying over the pain that these professionals are getting. It is today. And what Dr. Nyikal took us through was really very emotive. And this is the feeling of most Kenyans. As a member of this committee, if the president does not have does not listen to us, then we have no business being in this committee. And this is why I liked the message that Dr. Nyikal sent to the chair, and I've also circulated that message, because everybody asks, what are you doing as the health committee in the National Assembly? And I showed them that message, that we are trying to send a message directly to the president, because these things, we are not giving solutions here, we already know them. The solutions are in the cover, they are in the risk allowance, they are in the welfare, they are in the timely salaries of staff. We don't need to discuss. It is very sad and shameful to us as a nation to mistreat our health workers. All lives matter. More so for the frontline staff, whom we owe our very existence, of course, besides God. They are here to take care of our lives. And this is why we want to say the cost of brain drain of doctors in Kenya is much more than what the doctors are requesting. We are losing over close to $700,000 US in the brain drain of doctors in Kenya alone. That is annually. And so we need to really think hard as this committee, and I'm happy that the chair is saying we are going to put forth concrete recommendations, and we must follow those recommendations and ensure that they are taken heed of by the responsible authorities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I'll give it to Mheshimiwa Rueda, and then I'll go to Honorable Sarah Pauleta Korere. Thank you.
Asante Bwana Mwenyekiti. Kwa hakika daktari amewakilisha vizuri sana. Umefanya mpaka mwanaume akalia. Mwanamume alivolia, sisi wengine pia machozi ilitiririka. Na uliyosema yote ni kweli. Umetoa mfano ambao nimeona kweli unajua shida za madaktari Kenya nzima, sio madaktari tu wa Nairobi. Umetoa mfano wa Lamu, ukasema Lamu kuna daktari alifutwa. Ni kweli, nataka kutoa ushahidi. Daktari mwenyewe anaitwa Dr. Mbarak. Dr. Mbarak alifutwa sababu ni kwamba alijitokeza akasema yeye ana COVID-19, ikabidi afutwe. Bwana Mwenyekiti, napenda nisome message ya daktari mwenyewe alonitumia.
Sawa.
Employed on a 1-year contract, was supposed to be converted to P&P, but terminated after probation, reason not stated. Informal report say it was because I disclosed